Team Simply Matt here. We're going to bring you Banlist Discussion on staple spells.
Yeah, so before we get started, a big thank you to Galactic God. He just featured us in his recent YouTuber shoutouts and subscribed to us, so thanks a lot. It helps. And also thanks to all you guys. I think we just hit 1,000 views on our Tier 1 Banlist Discussion, so we'll have some links down below for some of the previous discussions, and then after this we're going to have one more video, and then we're going to come out with our actual Banlist predictions, so stay tuned. So the first card I want to talk about is Monster Reborn. This is on a lot of people's lists. It's always been on a lot of people's lists. I mean, it's a huge debate, and there really is no right answer whether or not you think Monster Reborn is broken, whether you think it's healthy. I mean, yes, it's the best revival card there is, bar none. I mean, a lot of people think that it can go because we have Call of the Haunted at 3. You're wrong if you say that we can bring back Premature Burial, or Premature Burial is coming back. Like, I honestly don't think Reborn is going to get hit, just because it's kind of like BLS. People want it to get hit, but I think it's sticking around at least a little bit longer. But no, Premature Burial is not coming back. It's searchable via Hidden Armory, and you can reuse it because So it's just one of the things, there's no reason to bring it back. Like, if you think Monster Reborn is going to get banned, having Call of the Haunted at 3 is plenty. Yep. So, the next one, the most controversial one maybe, is Heavy Storm. A lot of people, you have people saying that that's why a lot of decks don't run back row, because they're afraid of heavy. But then the other side says that
you have to risk something if you're going to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get angry. It's the classic argument is, oh, they're gonna put Thunder King, then they're gonna set 5, and except if you're playing Worms like me, that doesn't happen very much. So, in my Worm deck, I run 19 traps, and this is not to say that I'm an expert on this, but I actually think that heavy's good for the game. It would make my life so much easier if I can, first turn, set all my cards and not worry about heavy, and not, because the way I play it right now, I'll set a couple, whether or not, if I have Starlight, I'll set a couple more. Sometimes I like to bluff even if I don't have Starlight, but it makes you think a little bit more if there's that aspect of heavy in the game. Because otherwise there really is no risk of just setting all your spell and traps, because people aren't gonna run Malevolent Catastrophe. So as much as some people want heavy gone, I think it actually is healthy for the game, especially with Konami seems to want a fast-paced game, and so having duels with basically grinding back roll duels, while they might be almost a little bit more skillful, I don't think that's what Konami wants. So that's why I think Heavy Storm is going to be here to stay. Same with Reborn. The one thing I want to address is no, True Nade should not come back. True Nade does nothing good for this game. True Nade enables OTKs.
Super Cold Wave.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, the reason why is because, well, one, the person that uses it doesn't destroy their spell and trap, so they're okay with dropping it even if they have a full spell and trap zone. But also, I mean, it's a little bit harder to stop, I guess. But the biggest issue is that enables the OTKs because they'll clear the field and they can attack. But it doesn't do anything good, because even if True Nade exists, you're still going to set all your spell and traps. So basically, you have the negative of Heavy Storm, as in, like, they can, get rid of it for a turn and then push for game. But it doesn't have the positive of that people will start setting less, because if True Nade comes back, people won't suddenly, they're going to start setting whatever they have, because it doesn't matter if they True Nade or not. So True Nade is just one of those cards that it's not healthy for the game, so I don't think it should come back. Pot of Greed. I feel like everyone talked about how broken Pot of Greed is, and then Mega Capital G comes out with a video, and then suddenly you see all these ban lists, and okay, Pot of Greed's coming back. Konami hates staples. This, along with Graceful Charity, those are the two cards that every single deck ever would run, because it adds that, it just boosts those decks, Those are the two, ultimate staple cards. Yes, I'm actually in that group that think that, having, an instant +1 isn't, it's not that broken. I mean, it's extremely powerful, but it's not necessarily, the most broken thing. I mean, when you have, Inzectors, using Hornet to go +5, when you have, Wind-Ups getting Shockmaster, someone dropping a Pot of Greed isn't that bad. Plus, it can be used in every deck, which I guess is one of those things where it just adds a little bit of luck to every deck. But no, it's not coming back. Konami hates staples. They really, really hate staples. And it's one of those things where I don't know if it'll do anything anything that's that much better for the game. I mean, it's kind of like Monster Reborn almost, where, you know, yes, every deck can kind of utilize it, but it's too splashable, and it can. I mean, no, it's not going to turn the tide of the game unless you really get that, you know, that great card. But I don't think it's not coming back. Stop thinking it's going to come back.
Charity for Dark Worlds.
Well, we're kind of on that. I'd like Pot of Duality to go up to 3. I don't think that'll happen just because Konami, you know, they just put it to 2, and it's one of those things they don't like it running 3. In the OCG, it was running 3, so they don't like that. So as much as I'd like Duality to come back, I think Duality is the best example of a balanced card we have. I mean, the fact that you cannot special summon, which is a huge part of the game, and that you can only activate 1 per turn, that I think it's a perfect card, and I really don't see any reason for it to be a 2, except for the fact that Konami doesn't like things running 3. Some other cards, an interesting one, Book of Moon. In our prediction video, I think Book of Moon will go to 2, and I think it can go to 2. It's so versatile, but it's kind of underwhelming almost. I mean, in a lot of situations, you know, when you're going to use Book of Moon, it's like almost a Compulse would do better, a Bottomless would do better, a Fiendish Chain would do better. So I don't think, like in my Worms deck where I use flip effects, I don't even bother with Book of Moon. So I think it could easily go to 2 without much problem. Some people think like, oh, you know, if you boost up Tsukiyomi to 3, like you say, and you put back Book of Moon, it's going to be an empty jar format, but no, it won't. What else? What other stable spells? Yeah.
Dark Hole, MST.
Dark Hole, no one really whines about Dark Hole. I think it would be interesting if they banned Dark Hole but put Torrential to 3. I like Torrential. It's a little more, you know, the fact that you have to set it, plus the fact that it has to be responding to a summon, I think. No one really complains about Dark Hole just because you can get monsters back so easily, it seems. Pot of Avarice, while we're talking about all that pot. A lot of people really hate Pot of Avarice. And I kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, the fact that you can... the fact that, you know, late game... I mean, that's the thing people will use. Like, late game, it's even better than Pot of Greed. But the fact that it's only better than Pot of Greed late games means that it's not as good as Pot of Greed. I mean, the thing about Pot of Greed is the instant you draw it, you will play it, and you will go +1. I mean, Avarice can be dead in the beginning. I would, I guess, like to see Avarice banned, just because the fact that, one, it'll... a lot of decks, you know, that will spam a lot, it almost says, it's okay, you know, we see that you spammed and then you failed to win, so let's, you know, let you restock your deck, let's let you restart your extra deck and then draw those 2 cards. My opinion almost is, you know, if you exhaust all your resources, you know, tough luck. Of all the cards, you know, out of the Reborns, the Heavy Storms, Mind Control, I think Avarice is the one that's most likely to get hit. But I would not feel comfortable saying it in a prediction video. I mean, I think it is being abused now that so many of them, because the intent was you put this back, and so your main deck fills up a bit with the 5 cards. But if you can use it on mostly Exceeds or something, you know, like maybe Tour Guides or the Vanillas or a Rescue or you know, Rabbit could ever be banished. If you use the Vanillas again, so you can, you know, if you get Leviair back and get Rescue Rabbit. The fact that it's being used for stuff like that, I don't think is... I mean, it's one of the best late game top decks, so whether or not you think it's broken is up to you. I still don't think it'll get hit, though. The last one we're going to talk about is Mind Control. This is another card that I actually really don't like, mainly because we have 2 very balanced versions of it in Creature Swap and Enemy Control. I mean, Enemy Controller is great because it's a quick play, and it can also change the monster defense. And then Creature Swap is you give up one of your own.
And it's a player pick.
It's player pick, so I would be okay with seeing Mind Control banned. I would actually really like to see Mind Control banned, just because, you know, right now, basically that's just used, so you take one of their monsters, then you end up using it for an Exceed. So the fact that it, you know, it assists you in gaining an Exceed, plus it takes your opponent's monster, I think that makes it a little too powerful. The fact that, you know, I guess you can take the Utopia and put Utopia Ray, or what's even better, you know, you can take their Tomb, you can take their Adrius, and then you drop Gaia on it. That's the real power play. So that's another one where I'd very much like to see that banned. I just don't see it happening. I don't know. It's one of those things like, why now would Konami start to ban these staples? I mean, I think they're happy with it how it is. I mean, so, I guess so. In summary, Reborn and Heavy, I think they're okay for the game. I think they're gonna stay. Avarice and Mind Control, well, I'd love to see them banned. I don't think it'll happen. So the one thing I will say is I think Book of Moon will go to 2. I think we can do that just because in so many situations, I'm curious, leave a comment down below. If Book of Moon went to 2, do you think there would be a problem with that? Better yet, would you run, to Book of Moon? Because that's one of the things, like, when I was talking about Time Seal, I guess, a lot of people were saying how, they don't want Time Seal back, but no one really said, okay, if it's back, I'll start running it in my deck. Because that's the way you need to think about it, not these hypotheticals. A lot of people were like, oh, Tsukiyomi, if that, that comes off the list, let's all buy it now because that's going to be a semi-staple. But yet people didn't want to run it in their decks, and the ones that did, it was underwhelming. It didn't really do what they wanted it to. So that's the way I think you need to look about it with a card like Book of Moon. If it goes up, will you utilize it? Because if you won't utilize it, and a lot of the specialty decks, like my Worm deck, wouldn't utilize it, then what's the harm in putting it up and trying it? So, I think, while we're on this, I guess, since, we're not going to have a video to address it, I don't think Macrocosmos is getting hit. For a couple reasons. One, that's kind of like a royal decree. Yes, it shuts down decks. Yes, it shuts down a lot of meta decks. But run Imperial Iron Wall. Run MSTs. I also think it would kind of be pointless just because you'd have to hit that, plus you'd also have to hit Dimensional Fissure. Because yes, Fissure is a little bit worse in that, like Prophecies and Inzectors, it can get around it. But, D-Fissure hurts Mermails just as much. D-Fissure hurts Dark Worlds just as much. I mean, it hurts Chaos Dragons. I mean, it doesn't hit Spell or Traps and it doesn't hit XE material. But all these strong decks also get hurt by D-Fissure just as much, so it's not like if we, limit or ban Macrocosmos, suddenly, the graveyard decks are going to be in full control. We still have Soul Drain, we still have Dimensional Fissure, so hitting Macrocosmos, it's not going to suddenly make Dino Rabbits less powerful. It's not going to, people are just going to use D-Fissure instead, so it's kind of, unless you're going to hit Soul Drain, D-Fissure, and Macro, it's pointless to hit Macro. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. In a couple days, we'll come out with our last segment, which will be cards that we think can move up more. We talked about Tsukiyomi a little bit, so stay tuned for that. And then we're going to come at you with our actual prediction video sometime later in the week. So thanks for watching, guys, and click that subscribe button.